Gordon was supposed to do the promo for GoDaddy. The little guy went and worked so hard he tuckered himself right out. So it looks like we're going to have to do it.
This episode of iFanboy is sponsored by GoDaddy.com.
You can go over to GoDaddy and enter the coupon code iFanboy and get 10% off your purchase. Wait, what?
What's he saying?
Head over to GoDaddy.com and grab your piece of the internet.
Oh, poor little guy.
Interns are so sweet like this.
This week on iFanboy, we annoy Ed Brubaker and Dan Slott.
Welcome to iFanboy, the video podcast of the comic book discussion site, iFanboy.com. We're back at Jim Hanley's Universe in New York City. There's a signing today, Ed Brubaker, Dan Slott. It's Wednesday. The store's packed. Let's check it out.
All right, I'm here with Dan Slott, writer of Marvel and DC Comics as well. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, doing great.
All right, excellent. So I want to ask you a couple questions first about the big book that everyone's talking about, Avengers: The Initiative.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us anything about it?
I'm doing Avengers: The Initiative. No, it's Avengers: The Initiative is an all-new book. It's a post-Civil War book, and it is so post-Civil War that to tell you any two words in a row would give away the ending of Civil War.
How different is the post-Civil War world from the pre-Civil War world?
It's different. No, it's gonna have severe ramifications. Like the way Civil War originally came about was at one of these big Marvel summits. I think it was Brevoort said one of the things he missed about comics, about Marvel comics, is whenever in the old days, whenever two superheroes would meet, they just start beating the crap out of each other. It didn't matter who it was. Like Iron Man, Captain America, yeah, we were teammates over here, but I'm going to punch you, because all these characters were new to each other. And there could always be some kind of disagreement or some kind of weird circumstance. It was a very unfamiliar world, and we were as new to the Marvel Universe as the characters were to each other. And now we're like, 60 years later, 40 years later, and they all know each other. You almost feel like Spider-Man goes up to the door and goes like, Doctor Strange, cup of sugar? Can I have a cup of sugar? Sure, here's your cup of sugar. You watch that game last night? Yeah, okay, I'll see you later. And all the heroes feel like that. There's this great fraternity. So part of the fun of Civil War was, let's come up with a reason for all these guys to beat the living hell out of each other for 6, 7 issues. And when it's done, just the same way how if you have a fight with your friends, not necessarily with your fists, it's going to change the way all these characters look at each other and look at the world and the way the world looks at them. And one of the things I can say about Avengers: The Initiative is that no book in the Marvel Universe will exemplify this more than Avengers: The Initiative. This book could not exist without the Civil War. It's really fun. There's some things I can't say about it. We're going to have Yellow Jacket, War Machine, a new character called the Gauntlet, Justice, Peter Henry Gyrick.
Cool. Wow.
Well, these will be key characters in the initiative. And also, if you kind of move to the camera left or to the right at any moment, you will pretty much see the Marvel Universe. That the Marvel Universe really is your supporting cast. Anybody could be at the book at any moment, and there's going to be a whole bunch of new characters. So if people like the stuff I did with Arkham Asylum, where I created all these new Batman rogues, you'll like the initiative, because we have this new kind of cast of all new Marvels that are going to get thrown into the mix.
So you had that great run on the thing, and how does it feel to have had?
Oh, but everyone who didn't pick up the thing, if you're any of the guys on the internet who are whining about, oh no, Bill Foster's dead, Bill Foster's dead. Mark Millar did not kill Bill Foster. Thor clone did not kill Bill Foster. You killed Bill Foster. You didn't buy the thing. If we were still doing the thing, we had a Bill Foster arc ready. He was going to be in the next, 6, 7 issues. And by not supporting the thing, you left the character on the radar and off the table, and boom. That's why, hey, who should we kill? That guy over there. Because they didn't buy the thing.
I really touched a nerve here, didn't I?
No.
So
It's comics. I hit a magic wacky button, he pops up from the grave, and he's fine. It's comics.
but you've done a lot of Fantastic Four books, kind of related books. Is that kind of from a personal affinity? Like, did you grow up reading Fantastic Four, or is that just kind of how it happened?
The first comics I ever read, not bought, but the first comics I ever read were my cousin's Fantastic Fours. He started me off when I was like about 6 or 7 reading comics. I didn't know where comics came from. I thought they came from my cousin's basement. And the only superhero books he had were the FF. And he said, here, read these. And the first 3 comics he gave me were the Galactus trilogy.
Oh, wow.
So that's like giving a kid crack.
Yeah.
We're not going to start you off with the Infant Terrible or a Skrull story. Here's the Galactus trilogy. Knock yourself. So to me, everyone always... you associate the characters with the way you're introduced to them. So to me, Reed Richards is always the guy with the stubble who's going crazy. Oh my God, the world's going to be destroyed.
I've got to figure this out.
Yeah, that's Reed to me. He's the manic guy with stubble. And the Watcher is the guy who interferes at the drop of a hat. Because that's the way I met them. And my first comics I bought was I was biking home one day from 7-Eleven, and I passed the 7-Eleven, and they had a sign on the window that said Spider-Man was going to show up and sign comics. And I freaked out because I'm like, Spider-Man's going to be here. I was at the right age. I was like 8. So I totally believed
Magic
it.
was still there.
Yeah. And I'm a little Jewish boy, so I had no Santa Claus, no Easter Bunny. So I totally suckered into this. Like, Spider-Man's going to come to Stockton, California. He's going to be in my 7-Eleven. He's going to sign comic books. Wow. And I went in like, where are these comics? Where can I get them? And they pointed to the spinner rack, and it was like someone hit it with a light. It was like, oh, it's like, oh, that's where it's been all this time. I begged to my father. I was like, please start me on an allowance. I need a quarter. I have to buy a comic. Spider-Man must sign it. I wasted the whole day by the rack. I had to pick out the perfect Spider-Man stories.
Do you remember which issues they were?
It was Marvel Tales reprint of a Spider-Man Electro fight and Marvel Team Up number 38, Spider-Man and the Beast versus the Griffin, Night of the Griffin. And oh my God, I went there that week. I biked all the way back. I wasn't going to screw this up. If Spider-Man was coming, I was going to see him come. I wanted to see Spider-Man swing into the 7-Eleven. So I came there super early. I parked out there on my bike, waiting there with like my 2 comics. And then there came the moment that just, this is on the internet, right?
Yeah, you can curse, don't worry.
Fucked me up for life. I was doomed. It was the moment that has led me to this moment here, working in comics, and this is now my career. Is that I was looking in the sky and I started to realize I'm in California. There's no tall buildings. There's nothing for Spider-Man to shoot his web onto. How's he going to come? I got really nervous. I got worried. And then I looked over, and this is the 70s. The guy who was coming to Spider-Man, he was in a red pickup truck, and his friend was driving it. And they were obviously goofing around on the freeway. So he was standing in the bed of the truck, arms akimbo. So other people were like, hey, man, Spider-Man, awesome. And he comes flying off the freeway. And I'm like, look at this. I'm like, I totally bought it. It totally made sense. Arms akimbo, drives all the way up to the 7-Eleven. I'm the only one there. I'm the only one. It's all for my benefit. He leaps out. He lands in a crouch. He straightens up, saunters in, and sits down ready to sign. You're the Slurpee cups. I don't have those comics to this day because I read them so much.
It just fell apart.
They completely fell apart. I knew it. I knew every line, every piece of dialogue. I love them.
Finally, aside from the books that you're writing, which everybody should go pick up, are there any books that you could recommend that are really, doing it for you recently?
Well, he still gives me lots of crap about this. We did this Marvel Summit. We're doing a podcast, and they asked me that question. And we're all sitting around the table, and I didn't know what Ed Brubaker looked like. And I'm sitting there at the table, and they're like, well, Dan, what comics do you like? I'm like, first things out of my stack are the Brubaker books. I love Cab. I love Daredevil. It's just like the best stuff. And they're going, well, can you say anything else about the Brubaker books? They're all like sniggling and, and I'm like, no, this and this and this. Anything you don't like about the Brubaker books? I'm like, no. And I'm
geeking out over them.
I'm totally geeking out. And then, sorry. I'm such a bitch. And then at one point they're like, and I'm looking around, and everyone's like, I'm like, what? And they're like, it's not like he's here. And then he gets up across the table and goes, I'm Ed Brubaker. I'm like, oh, Jesus. So it's not that I'm sucking up to him now. It's that without knowing it, I sucked up to him about 6 months ago.
That's sincere, though. That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, and we'll keep reading, so...
We're here with Ed Brubaker. You write Captain America, Daredevil, Uncanny X-Men, Criminal, anything else? Iron Fist.
Co-write Iron Fist with Matt Fraction.
Do you have any time in the day for sleeping or eating? Or
not a lot. Eating, yeah.
Let's talk about Daredevil and Captain America. You managed to pretty much stay clear of Civil War for the most part. Civil War is basically entrenched the whole Marvel Universe, but those two books only slightly touched on the Civil War.
Yeah, with Cap, I couldn't really do much because anything I would have done would have already been in Civil War or been in the New Avenger stuff Brian was doing. So, I kind of chose to take the cue from Brian of focusing on the side characters. I wanted to figure out a way to sort of, not be, too jammed up with it. And also, when your book is starring the guy who's one of the two stars of the book, it's like, what do you do?
It's hard to avoid it.
It's not even about avoiding it. It's just like I don't want to just repeat the same story beats. So I chose to use the platform of the Civil War to sort of lay the groundwork for everything I was going to do after it.
Will the aftermath be affected in the storyline for Captain America?
Oh yeah, I mean, from the moment I heard about Civil War, I was like plotting out everything to do afterwards. So I was really inspired by being able to do that.
Uncanny X-Men, sort of a cosmic storyline. Daredevil was sort of a prison movie for a while. Now it's an international mystery. Captain America, somewhat historical fiction. Do you sort of go different genres on purpose, or it just works out that way?
No, I did that on purpose. I mean, that's one of the things I always really liked about Alan Moore was that he tried to do every kind of genre, And I mean, one of the things I've always really wanted to do is like a romance comic, but nobody will ever let me do one. So, I always try to fit a romance story in somewhere. Like I have the next issue of Daredevil, not the next one, but the one after that coming out is actually like pretty much a romance comic. We even got John Romita to come back and do the cover for it, and we've got like a thought balloon on the cover and everything. So I always wanted to try to do as many different genres as I could to,
stretch your legs.
Yeah, and just, make it more interesting for me because, you're always repeating the same themes, but if you repeat them with different trappings, you can get more traction out of it, I think.
Do you find it hard to push the boundaries of the different genres, or the editors open to you trying different types of stories?
I don't know if I really. I don't even know if I really try to push the boundaries. I just kind of try to do good stories and stories that sort of jump out at me to do with those characters more than anything. I've never really thought of myself as. Well, I guess a couple times I've done things that I've thought, I wonder if they'll let me print that, and sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
Criminal is your creator-owned work that Marvel publishes, which is fantastic, and we love it.
Thanks.
Now, you've had to do a lot of your own marketing.
Yeah, I was trying to just get the word out as much as possible, just from listening to people like Brian and other people I know who've done creator-owned stuff who are really big in comics, but still tell me every time they ever meet, like they'll go to a con and they'll meet someone who's like, I'm your biggest fan, and Brian's like, oh, do you have all these Powers books? And I'm like, what's Powers?
Never heard of Torso or Powers.
Yeah, how can you, if you're my biggest fan, how can you not hear of my creator-owned thing? So I was like, hearing that in my head every time I would sit down to do an interview, I'm like, okay, I got to do every interview that I can and just really get the word out and really push it to retailers, and because it's such an uphill battle with how many comics are out to try to just get people to even know that yours exists. I just was really trying to get people to feel like they were involved, just like help me promote this thing, and really try to use the grassroots kind of network to, get people excited about the book, because, there's just so much stuff coming out, and with all the Marvel and DC events and stuff,
There's a lot to wade through.
Yeah, and it's like, but I also felt like that was a good thing in a way that they would have, something to do, something to read that wasn't, like that. Because most of my favorite comics are not connected to any giant thing. It's like I can just buy this one comic and read the whole thing. It's all self-contained.
What comics are good right now?
I've started.
Dan Slott's
I really love She-Hulk, and I cried when they canceled Thing. Oh, are you here? I used to get the DC box for free every month, and so I got really addicted to reading, 100 Bullets and Fables and Why the Last Man and a lot of books like that every month. And I don't buy them every month now because I realized I was giving the comics away every month and just keeping the trade paperbacks. So now I read those in trade. I'm trying to think, what's my favorite monthly comic? I don't know, I buy so many comics, it's really hard to say. I think my favorite comic in the last year is probably Fell.
Fell's a great comic.
Fell. Anything Warren does, I love. I really like Astonishing X-Men. That was what made me want to write X-Men. You know,
Oh, was it?
Yeah. When I read that, I was like, why haven't they been having Joss Whedon write X-Men for the last 20 years?
I think that's a question a lot of people asked.
And why hasn't he writing Spider-Man? You know, when I was playing the Buffy video game, I'm like, Buffy's just Spider-Man. Like every time she punches someone, she makes like a sarcastic.
That's true. I never thought of that. You're right.
Yeah.
What is your per book limit for writing per month? Are you writing like?
I don't know. I'm probably at it.
You stretch the limit now?
I try to write like one a week, basically, and Iron Fist I'm co-writing.
How does the breakdown of that work? How do you and Matt Fraction share the duties of that?
We sort of plot it out together, and then, you know, sometimes he'll write like the rough draft, and I'll go over it and change stuff, or sometimes I'll say I want to write that scene, and you know, he does a lot of the heavy lifting just because I'm, you know, mainly like just sort of I'm sort of the overseer on it in a way, like I'm plotting it out more than, you know, and then sort of going in and tweaking a lot of stuff. Like I did a lot of rewriting on the first couple issues, like right before we sent it to the press, just to, you know, cut stuff out more than anything.
So you get final pass on it?
I mean, we both do, but you know, Matt's doing a lot of the stuff. Most of the funny stuff in it is Matt. Though I had a funny line in the last issue, and he cut it out, and I put it back in. So,
what's the power of having final pass?
I barely ever have a funny line. You have all the funny lines. I want a funny line. Yeah.
You write a criminal, I'll write the funny part.
Yeah, exactly.
So, criminal is obviously a crime book. Daredevil is sort of a street level character. Captain America, you could say, is sort of a soldier, which is sort of more realistic. You were Batman, which is a street level character.
Yeah.
Iron Fist is sort of a street level character.
No, Iron Fist is a mystic warrior from like a Himalayan city.
True, but I mean, he spends most of his time fighting crime, and you know.
Yeah, that's true. He's in New York.
So was the desire to write X-Men to get away from that and sort of go out in space and send them off?
Yeah, pretty much. I love sci-fi stuff. I always wanted to do something sci-fi. So when they offered me Uncanny, I was like, well, you've got this whole Civil War thing coming up, and there's so many other X-Men comics. I'd worked on Batman, and I knew that personally, just me, it's very hard for me to write. Like, you know, I was writing one of like 4 Batman books, and it just was hard for me to get my head around the fact that there were always these other books coming out at the same time, and I was always like worrying about, are they using the Penguin, or are they, you know, it's like all that. It's stuff
editorially complicated.
Well, yeah, and it just a lot of people don't have a problem with it, but for me, I like to just write the only book. Like with Cap, I write the only book that, you know, he's in Avengers and he's in all this other stuff, but the only book that's just about him is Captain America, and Daredevil's the same way. So,
is there a chance we'll get a Winter Soldier book?
I don't know. We'll see. Probably another special at some point. He's going to be a pretty big fixture in Cap for the next year or so. So, but you know, I love writing that character.
So did you plot? I'm sure you didn't, but did you plot the return of Bucky for the same month that Jason Todd returned over to DC? Or was that just a strange coincidence?
It was actually a complete coincidence. If our issue had shipped on time, they would have come out the same day.
Which would have been cosmically strange.
Really funny. When I got the gig, I told him what I wanted to do, and then I was talking to Judd like a couple weeks later at WonderCon, and he was telling me, hey, I got the regular Batman gig, and we're bringing Jason Todd back, and I'm like, we're bringing Bucky back.
Those are all the 2 untouchable dead characters, and they came back the same month.
Yeah, but I always want to point out that the biggest difference is people hated Jason Todd. No one hated Bucky. Bucky was out there like flamethrowing like, you know, Nazis and Japs and stuff back in the war, and you know, I mean, I know that's not a good word to say Japs.
It's the 40s.
It was the 40s. I'm talking about like, have you seen
being
the
historically
covers?
Correct?
Yeah, have you seen the covers of those comics? Are horrifying. Actually.
Yeah, they're not really PC.
Yeah, they're not very PC at all. It's like Bucky and the young commandos, and it's like this black guy with enormous lips, like holding an atom bomb, and it's like, okay. But, you know, I was really like, when people were comparing the two, I was like, don't compare those. People voted to kill Jason Todd.
People wanted him to die.
More people voted to kill him than voted to keep him alive. And in fact, I want those people to have a class action suit to want their 90 cents back.
I voted to kill him, too, and I was like 10.
Yeah, see? Do you want your 90 cents back now?
I kind of feel a little dirty about it.
But, yeah. Bucky was like if they had killed Dick Grayson in 1962, and then you brought him back, like, you know, now.
No bad feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
You sort of reminded people that Bucky was a hardcore soldier. He was out there in the battlefield.
Well, that's what Brevoort and I were talking about when I first got the gig. He said if you look at all the old Cap covers, like half of them are Cap and Bucky parachuting down behind enemy lines. Cap's holding up his shield deflecting bullets, and Bucky's sitting there with a Tommy gun going, yeah, you know, so, you know, and there's like searchlights shining up, and, you know, he said that's like every third cover.
A lot of people don't realize that. I mean, they saw Bucky as sort of a mascot. I mean, he was really out there killing people.
Yeah, there's a big argument about whether Cap and Bucky killed people during the war, and I always thought
They kind of have to. Wouldn't they?
what good is a super soldier who won't actually kill the enemy? But Tom pointed out there's a specific issue where Cap actually picks up like a mounted machine gun and just picks it up and puts it on his shoulder and blows away like 400 Japanese soldiers on an island or something in one issue. I think it's one page even. You know, he just kills all of them, and it's like. But, you know, that was comics during the 40s.
And you would think if any war...
Batman used to carry a gun,
That's
too.
true,
You
in the
know?
beginning. If there's any war where it's okay to kill, I would think it would
World
be
War
that
II.
World War II.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Exactly.
The Holocaust. You know?
And Bucky, you know, cutting sentries' throats,
Exactly.
which was brilliant.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
I have that page.
You do?
Yeah, I made Michael give me that page.
It's a beautiful page.
Yeah, even when I wrote it, I said, do this good because you're giving it to me.
Thanks a lot, Ed.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, well, that was a great time. So thanks to Ed Brubaker and Dan Slott for giving us their time during the signing.
And thanks to everybody at Jim Hanley's for letting us come here again.
Yeah.
And bother everybody.
And if you're interested, head over to iFanboy.com, check out the site, check out the discussion, check out the audio podcast. And if you have any questions, you can email us at contact@ifanboy.com.
Or you can call us at 1-888-FANBOYS, which is 326-2697.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Swearing okay? 'Cause
Swearing is fine.
I got banned from Fanboy Radio, so... Yeah, one guy emailed me after saying, you almost got me fired, man. And I realized I swear a lot.
iFanboy. iFanboy. From Mexico. This is Derek Roberts.